So I'm Delaney. I'm originally from London. I am doing my Bachelor of Science with a specialization in kinesiology. And I am the COO of Big Spoon Little Spoon.
I'm Colton. I'm from Toronto. I'm currently going into third year. My major is PPE, which is a political philosophy and economics degree. And I am the Chief Administrative Officer of Big Spoon Little Spoon.
I'm Victoria Preston. I'm from Etobicoke. I'm studying a Bachelor of Science with a specialization in kinesiology, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of Big Spoon Little Spoon.
Perfect. Okay, so let's just get right into why you guys chose entrepreneurship. Obviously, you're all doing the Quick Seat program this summer. Let's do the same order again. Just tell me a little bit about why you chose entrepreneurship as opposed to, going down a different path.
I personally chose entrepreneurship just because it's very exciting and you get to meet lots of people that I feel like I never could have met if I chose something different. So I think networking with a bunch of people just opens up a lot of opportunities for me, and that's what I really value about entrepreneurship.
I think I'm gonna have a little bit of an interesting answer here. I honestly didn't piece together that I was choosing entrepreneurship as a summer job. I kind of chose Big Spoon Little Spoon and to advance that as a company in itself, but I didn't really put two and two together that it was going to be an entrepreneurship type of summer. I'm very glad I did. I like the risk. I like the, starting something from nothing, but at the end of the day, I think I kind of chose Big Spoon Little Spoon rather than I chose entrepreneurship.
Yeah, kind of going off of what Colton said, I think as cheesy as it might sound, I don't think we chose entrepreneurship. It kind of chose us in a sense. I think when we were first starting out with Big Spoon Little Spoon as a club, it hadn't really occurred to us that it could potentially be a business or something that we could pursue for the rest of our lives. So it's really exciting just kind of taking on this new chapter, and we really like it so far, and I think we're really excited to see where it goes and where entrepreneurship can take us in future.
Awesome. I think that's so true. It's very common for people to just kind of get thrust into entrepreneurship and not really realize where it's going, and I think that's super cool. So let's just get right into the specifics of things. So Big Spoon Little Spoon is obviously a super unique idea. Definitely has a lot of innovative and a lot of social aspects to it. But could you just tell us a little bit, Victoria, about where the idea came from and what motivated you to start BCLS?
Delaney,
BSLS.
yeah, no problem. Delaney and I were originally teaching swimming lessons to children with Down syndrome and their siblings. And so we just instantly fell in love with the kids and the atmosphere that they create. And after talking to a lot of parents, we noticed that there was maybe a bit of a gap between the skills that were being taught and the ones that would actually maybe help them more long term and to be more independent. And at the same time, we saw an opportunity to help out Queen students as well and university students because these are skills that they need to learn as well. And it was just a perfect opportunity to combine these two communities together and make something really awesome.
Okay, awesome. And you said that you started because you were working with these kids, and what was that context?
So we were teaching the swimming lessons for these kids through a program called Bobbing Buddies, and so it was kind of a lot easier for us to start the program because we already knew the parents and a lot of the kids that we would be later working with for Big Spoon Little Spoon. So already kind of tapping into that community and working with these people, I think, was a really great starting point to make something further from it.
Awesome. And what motivated you to get into what was it called again? The Bobbing
Buddies?
Bobbing Buddies.
Yeah.
What motivated you to get into that?
There's a lot of kinesiology students involved in that program, and so I saw actually a Facebook post or something on social media kind of announcing that they needed volunteers, and I had worked with a lot of kids and kids with disabilities in the past through camp, and so I thought it would be something I was interested in, but I didn't know for sure, and after the first class I decided that was something that I would like to pursue for the rest of the semester.
Awesome. And how about you two? Maybe we'll start with you, Colton. Where did you come in the mix? Did you think you were coming into something that would flourish into something so big, or what was the deal?
Yeah, so I joined in January of this year, January 2019. I saw that they were hiring a new chair of external affairs and internal affairs for the club, as Delaney and Vic kind of took a step back to focus more on Big Spoon Incorporated and focus on growing in the club as a whole. So focusing in on the Queens chapter, there was a chair position open. So I applied for that, and I was happy and grateful to receive that position. And then from there, I got invited by Vic and Delaney to join them in Quixie for the summer. When I heard all their plans to expand the club and to move into other universities and, you know, really focus on creating an environment for kids that goes beyond just the classes and just beyond Queens, it sounded really enticing to me. So I've worked with kids a lot before, and I love just seeing kids and seeing yourself make a difference, even through the one semester with the classes that I was there. And I fell in love with the kids, and I love the program, so I just very happy I just had to say yes to coming here.
Very awesome. And
So yeah, I remember in May of last year, me and Vic were sitting in the library discussing like bobbing buddies and stuff like that, and the idea kind of came to Vic like, wow, like this could be so cool if we could teach them like actual life skills or cooking or something that they could actually use in life, like not just swimming or just something, like kind of incorporate everything that they need to know. And then we kind of like worked and figured out logistics and like launched it in September, and it just like took off, and I think it was one of the best decisions we've ever made. So
amazing. Bigger than all you guys thought initially, do you think?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Big Spoon Little Spoon came in as a pre-form team to Quixie 2019. Could you guys talk a little bit about how that came to be, how you discovered that there was this opportunity, what the pitch looked like, if you had any uncertainties, and a little bit of nervousness kind of going in, and anxieties, I guess you could say?
So we found out about Quixie through our friend Luke Pelletier, who is one of the co-founders of Research Stream and was in the cohort last year. And I was actually pitching for a grant through FICSA, which is our student association in Kin, and just explaining what we did. And he was like, oh, like, hey, have you ever heard of Quixie? Like, it's this really cool program. I did it last year, and encouraged us to apply, but we only had 3 days left or something like that to get our application and everything together. So I think it was a little, I guess we were a little nervous at least, because coming from kinesiology program and like a science background, commerce and entrepreneurship in general was never really something that I had really considered, at least. And so we were nervous about like the questions and stuff that they would ask, and we were worried we wouldn't understand like the terminology of like the different questions or things that they wanted us to prepare, and we had never really prepared even a pitch before. And so even we were talking about this the other day, like looking back at the pitch and stuff that we had prepared back then, and even our business in general, what it was then, like I couldn't imagine how far it's evolved now in the last couple of weeks and what we've accomplished. So we were definitely nervous in the beginning, but I think looking back on it, it's been a really great experience so far.
I guess that's one thing that a lot of people have anxiety about, is that they see this entrepreneurship idea and they come in, they don't realize that you don't have to have a business background, and in fact most of the cohort does not have a business background.
Right.
So I think it's really cool, and it's also amazing to see this group of diverse individuals pursuing things that are fundamentally within the business realm, but don't necessarily have the skills, but the program does teach you the skills throughout the summer. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about what the end goal is, where you guys see yourself in the next 2 months at the end of the summer, where you see yourself in the next year, maybe potentially 5 years. Any of you guys can take it if you like.
So I think by the end of the summer, our goal is to have an established revenue stream for Big Spoon Little Spoon, like something we know is we're going to put this out, this is what's going to help fund our classes, this is what's going to give us a safety net, so we're not bouncing from grant to grant, so that in absolute worst case scenario and funding or events don't work as well as they have in the past years, we can still run these classes. We feel like we have an obligation to the kids that are hopefully going to like keep coming back to our classes to have the classes here. Like we can't just all of a sudden one day be like, sorry, we can't cook this week or we can't cook this semester because we just don't have enough money. So at the end of the summer, we hope to have our mobile cafe up and running, which is an eco-friendly coffee cart that we're going to sell Big Spoon Little Spoon coffee and maybe pastries or some food items at, in order to drive revenue for these classes. We have a template for a Big Spoon Little Spoon cookbook, which is also consistent with our like cooking and life skills vibes. But that'll be driven through the Big Spoon Little Spoon community, and we'll have people's recipes coming in, so it's sort of an inclusive cookbook so that we can see everyone's favorites and that you can try something new, something a little easier, something a little harder if you want to develop your skills, that kind of thing. So
And what was the motivation to do the cookbook and also the coffee cart?
The cookbook, I think, just kind of came naturally through, we're cooking, we do recipes every week and they can take home a recipe. So we just thought, what if we threw all those in a book? And then ask our volunteers for their recipes, our participants' parents for their recipes, maybe highlight our cooking, like in-class recipes, what are kids' favorites. And then the mobile cafe was a joint effort between Delaney and Victoria, I think originally, where we originally started with like a physical space around campus somewhere where we could have our own coffee shop, but then thought making it into a cart would be better for us, especially in the beginning, because it's cheaper to begin. But also we can move it around, take it to events that we throw or that we have around campus. We can put it on, busy corners during certain days. We're not confined to a certain space, and it's cheaper to start up because as a startup, obviously funds are pretty tight.
Absolutely. Do you guys find that there are restrictions with selling food items on campus? And how have you kind of tried to surpass those restrictions so far?
Yeah, so basically all of campus is kind of not owned, but run by Sodexo. So basically we've been having meetings with them on like how to kind of not work around, but more or less like work with them to be able to provide like these opportunities to have our cart around campus and stuff. So that's an issue that we're trying to tackle right now, as well as space on campus. So there's basically one person that does all the space on campus, so we have to kind of work with them as well to see where we can have it, if we need permits, if we have to get permits from the city, school, like how to do that. So we're kind of in the works of doing the logistics for that part of the cafe, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, comparing to other universities, like Queen's is relatively small in terms of campus size, so right now it's pretty dense in certain areas, especially of like food items and coffee items. Vic has been emailing tirelessly like all the different faculties, see if we can get bookings for their meetings. We can cater their meetings. Could we be outside your building? Because each individual building is faculty run instead of Queen's run, so we need individual permission from each faculty to be outside their building, and they have been very receptive so far, which is great. And we're planning to have it like at our events, which are off campus, which will also help.
Amazing. So you guys have also, decided to move beyond Queen's, specifically to U of T, if that's correct. Why University of Toronto? What was the motivation behind that?
So U of T actually reached out to us. We've had interest from U of T, which is the farthest along because they've gotten themselves ratified as a U of T club. They have an exec hired. They're in the midst of hiring volunteers. They've fundraised already enough for a full semester's worth of class, so they're the farthest along. McMaster's also reached out to us, students there, and students at Western have also reached out to us. So we chose U of T because it's a good, very big market in Ontario especially. In Canada, but in Ontario it's got a huge student population, it's got a huge population period. We like running our classes at the Loblaws PC Cooking School. They have them there. They seem to have a genuine passion if they're reaching out to us to do these sort of things. So we want to maintain a certain level of quality when we're expanding, right? So when we saw that they came to us, we saw that they weren't just trying to pad their resumes with a good idea and a good club that looks great, but also with genuine passion for working with these kids and bettering their lives. So that's why U of T has been great so far.
How did you vet these individuals? Why did you choose to go with them in the first place?
Like I said, they came to us, and then when we talked to them, we noticed, we saw that they were genuine. They weren't just, blowing smoke. They were really interested in our program. They were completely susceptible to all our ideas. They had new ideas on how they wanted to run it at their campus because U of T is structured a little bit differently with their different colleges and different ways of applying grants and the student body is a little different, just in terms of the way they run their clubs and everything. So they were totally fine, taking our advice and how to run it and what we want to stay consistent with our Big Spoon Little Spoon brand, but also they're bringing in their own sort of twist to the club, which will be really great because it can always get better. What works here is not necessarily going to work there, and they're fully ready to adapt and change the club.
Yeah, they're very much susceptible to aligning visions and pursuing whatever you guys needed to do. So could you maybe talk a little bit about the challenges that you've faced in trying to expand both within Kingston and outside of Kingston?
Yeah, so honestly, like, I mean, knock on wood, I think we've been very lucky that a lot of people have been very like receptive of our program and have been very willing to help. I think a lot of our obstacles haven't necessarily been like external like people like willing to help us. It's more just kind of like us kind of being aligned with like our brand, just trying to figure out like what we want to do. Like there's a lot of people that reach out to us, and we have a lot of really exciting ideas and opportunities, and so it's just important for us to kind of sit down and like figure out what do we want to prioritize and what do we want to do, so that we're not like overwhelmed with like all of these things kind of going on. I think that's been our biggest obstacle so far, because we want to commit to all these really cool things and we really want to, but at the end of the day there's 3 of us, and so it's hard to be able to kind of start all these projects and make sure that they're done with quality. So I think that's the only thing that we've had to like overcome, not so much like barriers in terms of actually getting things set up, because people have been really kind and generous with their time and resources to help us, and we're very grateful for that.
So how do you sift through that clutter of what's coming in?
I think it's harder with a startup to see like, to not think like this is going to be great at the end of the day, because as a startup we have to sort of think like we're building a structure for what we hope is a very big like building in Big Spoon Little Spoon one day. So when we're starting out with our first couple expansions, we have to make sure we have a structure to send to their exec team. We have plans in place in case classes fail. Like we have to have a safety net of some kind so that the Big Spoon Little Spoon brand isn't just tarnished if something doesn't work. We're slowly, and at the same time as quick as possible, trying to build our brand and trying to get our name out there through all these different universities. But building up funding at Queen's and how we're sustainable with all our classes here, and then being able to help out U of T whenever we can, and building up what fundraisers are going to work for them, what aren't, what has worked for us, what hasn't, what is the student body susceptible to, what has like been done before and they don't really want to see again, sort of thing.
Do you have any recommendations, pieces of advice, etc., for cohorts of the future? I guess we can start with you, Vic, and then move right.
I would just say, like, if you have an idea or you have something that you want to do it, like, starting is the hardest part, and then after that, you kind of just figure it out. So if you want to do something, I think you should. I think talking to people and making the most out of your resources, especially if you're on a university campus, there's so many buildings with just resources inside of them, like, waiting for people to kind of take advantage of them and take help that. So I think figure everything out, but at the same time, if you have something you want to do and you're passionate about it, I think you absolutely should, and don't worry too much about failure or anything like that.
Awesome.
I think my advice would be, know that there's a difference between failure and constructive advice. Like when you have an idea, you think of it one way and one way only. So when someone tells you something else in a pitch or in just an ideas meeting, be ready to take that feedback. Even if you won't eventually use it, don't shut people out because it's not exactly what you were thinking. 2 brains are always better than 1, so be ready to take that feedback. And trust the people you're working with. Like if you decide to be in a team, like they are just as invested as you are. So at the end of the day, everyone's working to make a better company and a better idea. So trust that no matter what happens.
I think what I would say is relay your ideas off of as many people as possible. Like I know when we come up with a new idea that we think is amazing, we go like straight to the DDQIC team and we're like, does this even sound good? Like I know it sounds good from us, but like being like a rational, like logical person, like does this make sense? Or like if you keep bouncing ideas off of other people, you could find a way to do that in like a way easier way than you ever thought. And it could be just so much easier, something that you didn't even think of that could be so much better. And so I think, just relaying off of a whole different types of people like really, really helps us.